Welcome, welcome. It occurs to me that um, what came to me to share with you today. It just popped up. So I picked a card today that I'll share with you in just a moment. And what occurred to me as I was reviewing everything how we might approach this new era, that one of the most important things to ask yourself is, what about this needs to be loved? What about all of this wants to be loved? So I'd like you to let yourself notice, what about what's going on in you right now wants to be loved, or needs to be loved. And I think of love and I experience love as being in the same place with. And I was thinking about the Winnie the Pooh stories, where they would go out into the wild woods, and sometimes they'd meet Eeyore, and Eeyore would be grumping around, and they would just be with him. So there was no demand that he need to be any different, or that he need to pull himself together, or there. So I'd like you to let yourself see if there are any little Eeyore places in you today that are drooping, or sad, or mad, or scared. And I'd like you to let attention be your Winnie the Pooh move, that because attention allows us to be in the same space with. So I'd like you to let yourself give your loving attention to anything in you, and let yourself just be with it. And I like to use the image of being next to something on a porch swing, being next to a friend, who's grieving, or, who's, in a big muddle, or has experienced a lot of loss. And that the very first thing is, can I be with this? Am I willing to be with this? So that inward, and you can use a love scoop for that. It's like, okay, come on, I gotcha. Like sometimes, I'll just scoop up one of my kitties, and I'm a lot bigger than they are, so I can do that. But we forget that we actually are a lot bigger than whatever is going on inside. And so we can scoop that up and hold that and just be with that. And I find, like, if one of my kitties, or it used to be, when my kid would feel wake up from a bad dream, that often I would just need to be with. So to quiet the part of you that thinks, oh my God, I've got to do something. Well, I find that action that comes up spontaneously for me out of being with myself is much more effective. And it comes from a natural kind of out breath. It's my love in action in the world. It's my giving attention then what out here wants to be loved, and what out here am I willing to be with. And so I'd like you to let yourself have a couple of different cycles of attending to body sensations, emotions, memories that are going on inside you, and letting yourself take a moment to be with. And there may be squirmies, like, oh, I don't want to be with this. So anything but being with this. So you can let yourself be with the squirmies, and you can also let yourself add in. I find that fear melters are a wonderful way for me to be, because we tend to grip and contract down when something, and we're also being invited for a whole nother round of fighting back, which I intend to not do. Uh, I am not going to fight back. I am going to give my attention to what we're doing in our cultivating new stories for humanity, which is literally creating new stories that we can live into, rather than the same old, which is going to just create the same old. So when you have the impulse to fight back, please ooze. Let yourself be the seaweed in the ocean of love. Ah, and letting that ooze right on out of you, which is not to mean that you let yourself collapse into a clump, although you may want to do that too. That's another great way to be, just make a fort. I went over to visit a friend yesterday, and her kids had made this incredible fort. And it reminded me of how much I loved forts when I was little, and how much my son loved forts, and how much our former cat Lucy loved forts. She would come in and she would kind of look at me and go, "Oh, you want a fort, don't you?" And so I'd make her this fort, and what that meant was that, like, in a big chair, I'd pull a blanket over it and she'd crawl in under it, and she would have space in there. But it was really, I'm on my own. Don't bother me. I'm in my fort. So I also want to invite you to create a fort. How is it that you can create a place where you can literally retreat? So that might be, a place in your neighborhood that has a wonderful tree where you love to go and be, but it's a place where you can be with yourself, where you feel really safe. And when you have the loop of awareness, you can create safety for yourself wherever you are. So, that question of what needs to be loved, what wants to be loved right now, let yourself ask that again. I want to invite you to write it down, because I'd like that to be a central thing that you let yourself ask, what needs to be loved now? And then you know how to do that. We've been doing this for some of us for 4 years together. So, loop of awareness is a move to love you, because it's a move to be with what's going on. And then you can be with what's going on out here with an overflow, not with a lack. So I want you to be all filled up with loving and being with yourself, and then letting your actions come from the overflow of your reservoir, so that you're not draining. So filling your reservoir is going to be a primary activity over this next period of time. So that's that was what was first coming to me. And then the card that I picked two cards today. I just reached in and I picked them out, and this was the one. The other one I'll mention in a moment. But as you're giving your attention to the card, and then attention to curious attention to what's going on in you, when I notice is that the openness that I feel when I look at this, and the uprising. And they're two very short, there's a sentence and a question here that I want to read to you. I know what yes feels like in my body. I know what yes feels like in my body. And the question is, how can I easily notice a yes response from my body intelligence? How can I easily notice a yes response from my body intelligence? So, as you're looking at the card, what was occurring to me, the other card I picked, it was kind of glued to this one, was about how do I recognize no in my body. And I thought, oh, cool. This is so cool, because I want to develop a whole new way and expand a whole new way of making decisions, making choices. So, because the outer, sort of like the outer moral standards, and everything that I grew up with is now uh, is either crumbled, been trampled on, or has been thrown out the window. And so it occurred to me, oh, if I know what my inner yes and no feel like, that is the most accurate, the most efficient, the quickest, and I think the most friendly way of beginning to make choices. So I'd like you to take a moment and notice how do you know what yes feels like in your body? And I'd like to come on back to the big group because I have a couple of experiences. I'd like you to ask yourself, you're going to get distracted. You'll go to say what yes is, and then you'll be pulled to look at something going on out here. And I think that's going to be one of the major disciplines is returning to you as the source of your own choices. And because you are going to get reactive, I'm going to get reactive. I turned on the television this morning and I turned it off again right away. So that was my choice. And I thought, wow, I'm going to be watching a lot of documentaries over the next period of time. I'm going to be finding out like all about Leonardo da Vinci and what they did in the Middle Ages. And yeah, so but today no television. so uh, so for me, when you go like, do I want to do this or not? And if I go through all the choices, like my dad used to make a list of the pros and cons, that one, like if I do this, what will be the good things? And if I do this, what will be the bad things? And then he would make a logical decision. Well, to me, if we were still in that same structure, that would work. But if something makes sense, and I think, well, we'll do this because it makes sense, that has not been happening. So if I am operating from my own inner yes and no, first of all, I'm maintaining my integrity because I am going to get distracted, but I'm coming back to like my North Pole, my inner GPS with yes. And for me, yes is always opening. And for me, yes comes up the front of my body and it has a fountaining or a streaming feeling. And so the qualities that you feel in your body, I think are really valuable. So it might be like a door opening. It might be a sense of warmth. It might be an expansion that you feel. But my sense is that it will be an opening. So for me, a no is it has a kind of a solid it actually, for me, is related to rooting because I get a very clear no. And it doesn't have any like emotion or I'm not, fighting. It's just no. And I think we have been giving a lot of attention to no over, and I don't know how useful that's been. So I'm giving my attention to yes, which is like, what am I wanting to turn toward? What am I wanting to open up to? What am I wanting to engage? And so even with little decisions, like I invite you to do this with what you're going to eat and what you're going to wear, because those are daily decisions and will give you a chance to practice. So I'll be looking at my closet. I have a fairly well-developed closet. Those of you who know me, I have a passion for color and fabric. And so I'll be looking at, and then I'll pass something and I'll feel that upward fountaining and go, yes. And it's very simple rather than, oh, what will this go with? And oh, I wore that last week, or oh, that needs to be washed. But letting your body go, yes. And then eating is another great thing, to opening the refrigerator. I was just remembering my dad saying, shut the refrigerator. Because I would like to open the refrigerator and then I would just look and see what I wanted. But he wanted me to decide what I wanted before I opened the refrigerator and then get it out and close it because of, electricity. And so I was wasting electricity and turn the light off. And so there was a lot of no now that I think about it. So uh, using food, like what really allows your body to have that yes response. And this will give you a chance to practice, and also practicing with decisions that may not have quite as much impact for you. So playing with yes this week, and I invite you, if you have the card or you have the electronic deck, this would be a really good one to just have so that you are really turning toward yes in a time where you're going to be tempted to turn absolutely toward no. So, what in your life can you really turn toward yes? And then let me just take a look at uh, what we have here for presence, connect, play. All right. So, present is oh, and this, by the way, for those of you who may be new, and if you're new, welcome. So happy to have you with us today now that we're already into our process together. We take a look at the app. We have a free app that's called Presence Connect Play. And I invite you to let that be an app that you use regularly over the next 4 years, that you use this as a way of expanding your aliveness and finding an alternative to the drama triangle of the hero, victim, villain. That's the primary use of Presence Connect Play, is getting here, connecting, and then getting the nourishment of both connection and play and collaboration. Because, working on it, fighting back, they're not working. So let's play with something else. Presence Connect Play. So, presence today is befriend feelings and be with. That's exactly what we've been doing. And being with, for me, is bringing my attention to, bringing my breath, my awareness, and my willingness to be right with, to be next to. So on the porch swing, imagining taking a walk with, having my arm around it. So befriending my feelings. So very often my feelings just want to be acknowledged. We spend so much time pushing them down and trying to make them different, trying to, oh, you're not really mad. I am really mad. So if you let yourself be with, that opens the flow of connection right away. And then connect is, give attention to where others' body or breath is open. So in connecting, when you're looking for what we do, what we call looking for the opening. So where is the place where we can meet? And for me, breath, if there's an open breath, that's a yes. So if I'm noticing that I'm saying something and the other person is breathing, then I can open my breathing. And when we're sharing breathing, we're connecting. And it's a very friendly way to connect with others, which is to notice, where does my breathing open? And where does their breathing open? If I'm just giving attention to another person's breathing, my experience is that helps them open to their breathing rather than shutting it down. And then we're sharing breathing together. And even just that moment of being together can create a new possibility, rather than grinding on the same old, same old. And then play. Oh, play is mirror the other with your body. So when I'm with friends where I already have a connection and there's something going on with them, one of the things I'll do is open my body and just, I'm going to mirror what they're doing so I get a sense of what's going on for them. And that isn't imitating them, it's really letting my body reflect and mirror what I'm seeing. So I take on what they're doing, and I can do it very subtly. I can do it inside, but with people I know, I'll really do it with my whole body, because then I can get